Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda YouTube podcast series powered by openbusinesscouncil.org and citiesabc.com. Once again, we are to profile global leaders and personalities changing the world with the best business and technology approach, and special people that are unstoppable in their energy and capacity to change, to modify, to adapt, and the resilience to keep moving and create fantastic things. In this series, we should be profiling over 250 people and some of the top leaders in the world. We keep going and focusing on finding people that we admire, that we want to leverage into new narratives, but special people that have the faith, the hope, and the resilience to keep moving. And I want to start with a quote that I think it's a great one to define our special guest of today. Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. Rumi. So my special guest of today is Aaron Lau. Aaron is a tech entrepreneur and thought leader, a technology and marketing executive who is well known for his work as chairman and CEO of DDB Asia and as a CEO of North America and Cheil Worldwide. And he is the founder and CEO of the, I would say, 360 agency specialized marketing and digital solutions, Gusto Collective. Gusto Collective, which Aaron founded in 2020, is the third brand tech holding company in Asia and has been recognized as Forbes Asia 100 to watch in 2022. Powered by technology, the company is specialized in Web 3.0, brand tech and marketing services, and an augmented reality experience platform, and as well is the creator and founder of the Metahuman personality, and I would say as well ecosystem Mono-C, which I suggest for you to search, which is a beautiful metahuman and a great artist. Gusto Collective is as well a luxury marketing and digital 360 services that collaborates with some of the world's top and biggest luxury and premium brand clients that include Harrods, Canad Goose, Swire Hotels, Estee Lauder companies, and DFI Retail Group, Tourism Australia, and LVMH. Before founding Gusto Collective, Aaron served as a president, international and CEO for North America at Cheil Worldwide, which is part of the Samsung Group, for 7 years. He led the company global business across 53 offices in 43 countries, with a particular focus on North America, and spearheaded its expansion into Web 2 in areas such as SEO, social marketing, and omnichannel commerce. Aaron also founded and served as CEO of Bravo Asia Limited for over 6 years. There he grew Bravo Asia to become the leading digital marketing business in Asia and work alongside top-tier clients like Pepsi, New Balance, T-Mobile, and Moet Champagne, ultimately, and he sold the company to Cheil Worldwide. Aaron is also a distinguished member of several advisory boards, including the Shanghai Chu-Hui District Mayor's International Advisory Board and the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, HK China Business Council. He also serves on the board of Parsons School of Design, the Nature Conservancy Asia Pacific Council, and the Design Trust. Welcome to our series, Aaron. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So Aaron, you have an out-of-the-box profile because you are a person with a lot of passions, with a lot of achievements, as well matching different worlds, the world of advertisement, the world of branding, the world of technology, and the world of art. And as well a fantastic art direction, creativity that you build in your agency that I'm a huge fan, first of all, and I love what you guys are doing with Mono-C, a lot of different things. But let's go through your basis, okay? So anyone has a trajectory and anyone starts with something. So how did you start your career? A bit of your background as well. You are in Hong Kong, but you are a citizen of the world. a bit of all that that made your cultural background, your education, what made you who you are today?
Well, that's a very long story, as I'm an old guy. So when I was younger, I played music, and I aspired to be probably as famous as, you know, Mick Jagger, or you name it, all these rock stars. They were my dream job. So I had the chance to play with a band, and we sort of went around Europe, just having fun, but didn't quite make it in the music world. So I then ran out of money. I think I had less than 20 US or 20 bucks in my pocket. And of course, then I have to come back to Hong Kong on my return trip. So I had 9 months of great fun, going all around Europe, playing music, meeting people and all that. And then I came back to Hong Kong, and I was invited to a party. I think it was a Halloween party, if I'm not mistaken. And then lo and behold, at that party, there was a whole bunch of Australians and New Zealanders, and they were working for a firm called Ogilvy. And we started talking, I guess, under the influence of alcohol. And they said, well, why don't you come in for an interview? So I went in for an interview. And then I think 2 or 3 months later, I got hired. I got hired in New York. And I was working with some great talent in New York back in this is going back to the mid 1980s. And at the time, I was on a project called American Express. Membership has its privileges. And the photographer on the campaign was the famous Annie Leibovitz. So I worked with her for 2 years. And I fell in love with art, and obviously my background was I love music, and then I had this infusion of photographic art and the general art world, and that's how I got into creativity. And I ended up spending a very long time as an agency executive, about 10 years ago, I sold my first startup to the Samsung Group. And within Samsung, they had a lot of very interesting technologies, 5Gs, self-driving cars, and so on. And I had a chance to see all these different tech in the firm and learn about the possibilities when you deploy technology and infuse it with storytelling. Then you create something that is truly, truly powerful. And that was very much the ambitions that we have for ourselves at Gusto.
It's a beautiful story, and I love the music because I have a bit of a similar background. I love the music part, and now, of course, working. And I work
What
actually.
do you play, Dinis?
I was vocalist. I was singing, and so it's funny because now I'm working with a couple of pop stars, and I work a lot in music. So I really respect. And what was your instrument or music?
I play rhythm guitar, and I also sing a little bit. I used to be hair this long, and I was wearing torn jeans before torn jeans become expensive. Yeah. Well, these days you buy a pair of jeans is more expensive than a pair that is brand new, isn't it?
Completely. No, that's amazing. Well, I love your background because it's really passion of a creative industry is passing to the agency world and of course the tech world. So in terms of this process, and I want to touch because you are really out of the box because you, of course, you are a visionary entrepreneur. You have an intersection of technology, creativity, and brand. But we have a huge component of art and creativity. Actually, it's one of the things that I love about Gusto is the way you present everything you do. So let's go about that part. Of course, it comes from being a creative person and coming from music, but that experience and as well working in Hong Kong, which is, of course, you mentioned Ogilvy, which is one of the biggest leading agents, still very strong in Hong Kong. And as well intersection between Hong Kong, China, and US, where you as well work, but you mentioned Samsung as well in South Korea. So this is actually probably some of the most, if we put Hong Kong, New York, and South Korea, it's some of the most creative elements of technology, but branding, design, and anything in terms of special innovation. So how did this shift your way of looking at the business world and as well building the business that you created?
Well, I think there is, I think the internet has brought along a massive seismic shift to the way business need to market itself. Many people talk about, these days with the internet, every company is a media company, every individual is a media personality, because now you have the capabilities to broadcast to a lot of people, right? But along with it, it also brings together a huge amount of noise that could drown out whatever you want to say. So first and foremost, I think businesses, in order to be successful, have to go back to the basic. And I'll give you an example. If you think about mass communication, which was pioneered back in the 60s by the likes of P&G, the Unilever of this world. The interesting thing about mass marketing is that it's actually very anti-social, very anti-human, because human in the old days used to go to the city square or the town square, and then you want to buy something, and then you negotiate, you banter, you get to know each other, you have a relationship. And that two-way relationship was really important to any selling or buying or whatever in the old days. And then when we move over to mass marketing, it's basically who's got the loudest voice and who's the most consistent. And that became the modus operandi for a lot of brand building. However, with the introduction of Web 2.0 and now with Web 3.0 that is emerging, you have a chance to reconnect, to rediscover the art of buying and selling, the art of building relationship, which is always a two-way street, right? You want something from me, I want something from you, or we share something together, and that's how relationships are created. And I think in order to succeed in that realm, you need storytelling. And that's why the company was still very much founded on the ambition to create best-in-class storytelling. Because after all, we're all human, and human believes in stories. However, with the arrival of new technology, it could manifest the stories in many different ways that previously weren't possible. Now it is. And that's what we want to immerse ourselves in these new technology that allows us to create more interesting ways to tell a story. And that's what I think we have a long way to go. But at the same time, we made some progress in establishing a beachhead. And having traveled all around the world, and I lived in London, New York, obviously Hong Kong, China, spent a lot of time with South Korea and so on. I realized it doesn't matter where you go, people are just people. They just want to connect with the stories. And then with the convenience brought along by technology, they want that convenience as well. So I think this fertile ground of branding and technology has still a long way to go. And that's what we are excited about, the possibilities of what the future, bears for this industry.
I agree completely. The storytelling is more important than ever, especially right now with the Web3 and the AI new frontier. So when you started, especially Cheil Worldwide, which was a big success, and actually Samsung Group acquired afterwards, there was the transition from Web 1 to Web 2, and you successful took the company and all the areas of advertisement, Google advertisement, SEO, social media, because it started at the time, and the omni-channel areas. So that was a big shift. So can you tell us about that experience? Because at the end of the day, that was the first big shift in terms of the first part of the internet and the second one. And now we are in another one, which we are doing right now with Gusto Collective. So how do you see the first part and a bit of the experience about, if you want to tell us about Cheil Worldwide, and as well, you had the Bravo AZ as well. So give us a bit of that background, and as well that the transition, like you said, in terms of these areas.
Well, I think, Web 1.0 was primarily the invention of, I guess, mass marketing, except it's now online. So Web 1.0 is I am a brand, I have something to tell you, then I create a website and you can find information on my website. So it's slightly passive in that regard. So you have to, have people want to come into your website, but it's still basically broadcasting, except it's now online. Web 2.0 creates more of a relationship between the customer and the brand, because now you have chatbot, you have more of a two-way relationship, but it's still a little bit clunky. I think Web 3.0, at least the promise, because it's being built right now, the promise it would be democratic. It would create multiple party conversations within the realm of Web 3.0. And those are really valuable and very important traits of Web 3.0, because it is human nature. It is human nature where, when you have people congregate, new ideas come up, and you have a more robust conversation. I often use this example. If you think about Mesopotamia, where civilization was founded, you say, well, that's a desert, or it is very desertly. Why would it be the crust of civilization? Well, it's actually very simple. As people go over from one place to another to trade on the, with the camels coming along, and they find a well, and then they all come to the well because the camels need to drink. People need to drink. And when you come together, people talk, and all of a sudden you say, well, that's an interesting point. Why don't I adapt this for my country or for my village or whatever? And that's how you create new inventions, and you foster, you cross-pollinate, you foster relationship and all that. I think Web 3.0 has this amazing ability to connect people like we weren't able to connect physically or digitally before, and that's the beauty. And that's a vision. It's not a reality yet, and that's something that I think with all the talent, the investments that's going into building this more democratic Web 3.0, I think it would be a really exciting phenomenon when it arrives.
So, like you said, we're building it. So let's talk from what you build is a massive achievement, because you build already, you are on your third big agency. And of course, Gusto is massive right now in what you achieve, and congratulations for that. But it's not easy. And like you said, this storytelling is one thing, but most of, let's say, when you start your career, probably most of things was print media. And then suddenly right now it's first iteration of web, then second iteration. Now we get into AI, Metahumans, a lot of different things. So from your agency perspective and the relationship with the clients, you've been working with some of the biggest brands in the world. Where was the most important thing of these relationships and the layer of technology? Because there's a layer of storytelling, relationships, and technology and innovation around the technology. And I would like to hear from you, because you've been always on the cutting edge of these things.
That's a very interesting question, Dinis. I don't know whether I have a great answer for you, but I'll tell you from my experience talking to clients. If you are to engage the Metaverse or Web 3.0, unless you're an entertainment company or you are an entertainer, it's actually quite hard to monetize Web3 right now as we speak. So if you're a singer like Travis, you can sell tickets on the Metaverse, right? And he sold a lot of tickets. That's an immediate way of monetizing, because you got something and you can find many more people around the world to come to your concert, to come to your show. So if you are involved with some sort of entertainment element, there is a way to monetize. If you are a company that sells sneakers or clothes and all that, it's harder because it's not as immediate. So a lot of the clients would say, hey, why do I need to come into Web3 right now when it's being built? Which is a fair question, right? So my answers are actually very simple. First of all, if you look at all the research in this world, the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, which are the growth driver in consumption as they mature, they don't differentiate as much between reality and virtuality, partly because they grow up in the world of computers and computer games and all that. And these are mini-verses in their own right? You get totally immersed in that world. So they don't separate like old people like me between virtuality and reality. So if you're able to build that, think about this as you now have more of this person's eyeballs, if you like, because when he's playing game, you're engaging. When he's doing emails, you're engaging. When he's driving from A to B and you have a billboard on the highway, you're engaging. So I think it expands the engagement, but that's just a volume of engagement, right? Then secondly, you have the intensity of engagement. If you find a way to engage with them in the virtual world, then you are encouraging a relationship, a dialogue between the brand and the customer. So if you look at it from that perspective, then this is a golden opportunity to start on that journey. So we often say, maybe you don't want to go all in, which is understandable as it's being built. So maybe one of the things to do is to take baby steps and start trying out and start discovering how your customer franchise would react to whatever tactics that you deploy in Web3. So for instance, one of the things that we've been working on quite a bit is tokenized loyalty. Loyalty programs are everywhere, but tokenized loyalty to some degree gamify the transactional relationship between the customer and the loyalty program. And therefore, it makes it a lot more interesting. It feels less transactional and more experiential. So once you start showing how it works, then you can see clients' eyes sort of brighten up and say, hey, there might be a way. And, the latest example is the Odyssey program that Starbucks launched in the US. And they've done well enough, and now you're beginning to see more and more brands beginning to look at that. That's just one aspect of Web3 that have an immediate impact on their business. There are others we are exploring. I think one of the things to always remember is as the Web3 world is being built, there are a lot of goods and bads and the ugly side of all that, right? Because we've all heard about the crypto frauds around the world and so on. But in the world of marketing, I really believe, and I don't remember who the client was. Years ago, there was a client that I worked with in New York, and they have this policy where 5% of your marketing budget must be spent on something that you've never done before. So technically, most people would think if it works, just scale it up and go all in, right? But this company said you gotta have to try something new, and they have this policy of the minimum of 5% of your total budget must be spent on something that you've never ever done before. But when you do this, you make sure that you have some sort of record of how it's impacted your franchise, what it's designed to do, and so on. So I think it's the same thing in Web3. You just have to test a few things and see how it works and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And as you learn, then you'll have a much stronger path to potentially the future of marketing. And I think when Web3 does arrive, I don't have a crystal ball but in terms of when it arrives, but when it does arrive, just like when television arrived, it changed the world of entertainment. When mobile phone arrives, it changed the world of computing. Web3 will arrive and it will change the way how you connect with your customer. So we all better learn fast
I
and be
subscribe,
prepared.
I love, yeah, being prepared is the most important. I agree completely. So let's look at in your career. So from leading Cheil Worldwide to create an agency like Bravo Asia, and now Gusto Collective. So tell us first of all about these three organizations, especially about Gusto first of all, because I have a lot of questions precisely on the bridge with Web3 and the relationship with like you said, the creative industry the business and the advertisement, and as well society at large, because the blurred lines between digital and physical are right now, especially for young generation, like you said, and we're not so old, still young people, but in a sense, it's really, there's a lot of diversity on the blurred lines, especially.
Okay, so Bravo was a consultancy, and we were very lucky that when we founded the consultancy, it was at the time when everyone was trying to get into China. So we were doing marketing strategy, go-to-market strategy for global brands like Pepsi, New Balance. Eventually, we also worked with Coke and so on. So the consultancy grew leaps and bounds because we were at the right place at the right time. And we were also advising some of the Chinese clients to go global as well. And so that was a very nice consultancy, but it was a small, I would say, high-end consultancy where we charge for writing the business plans and all that in Hong Kong and in Shanghai. And then Cheil actually acquired Bravo Asia. And that's how I started working with Cheil. And they asked me to then take over their international operations, where I became the president of international and also CEO of North America, because in North America, Cheil does not have any Cheil branded companies there. It's basically an acquisition model where they acquired different agencies like McKinney, Barbarian, and all that. And I was asked to run all the acquired affiliates as well. And at working with Cheil, which is a Samsung company, I was exposed to a lot of technology that I probably would not have been exposed to if I stay in the agency environment. So I have to thank Cheil and Samsung for that. I learned a great deal in the 7 years that I worked with them. Gusto was very much founded on between my days as a musician, as wanting to do something creative. Then I become a business planner, helping clients write go-to-market strategies. And then I learned about technology at Cheil. And then at the latter stage of my career, I felt if I could deploy what I've learned in the last 30 years, maybe there is a business to be made by combining these three components. So Gusto was the product of my last 30 years of experience with the various organizations that I've learned from and I've worked with. And we were also very lucky in the sense that because we arrived so late, the world, to be honest, does not need another agency, let alone whether it's Gusto or not a Gusto. However, the world does need a new type of agencies that can engage by deploying traditionally, storytelling, but combine it with technology. So we found something that resonates in the market. Because we operate in the Asia footprint, one of the very earliest decisions we made is we're not going to go massive mass market. We're going to go with luxury. One, because Asia is a big market for luxury and will continue to grow. Secondly, I think luxury deals with the younger population. I should say fashion and luxury in general are driven in this part of the world by the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha and so on. So therefore, their propensity to engage through sort of new emerging technology would be much higher than a traditional toothpaste brand, if you like. So that's why we decided to go after these genre that we have technology and storytelling, but deploy first only with luxury brands. So as of today, we have about 140 relationships with luxury brands and premium brands. And they found what we're trying to do could potentially help them transform their business or their engagement with the younger population. And that's how we found a niche in the market. When in Asia, you may be aware there's something like 400,000 agencies out here, right? I know in China there's 200,000 agencies. I don't know the rest of the world, the rest of Asia, but I imagine it must be quite a lot. So, you know, for us to find a niche was difficult enough. But once we found it, it's not as difficult as I thought, because people now realize that you know, this is the way to go, because it's the most effective, and that's what the young people want. The young people in Asia want to communicate with the brands, but they don't watch TV, they don't read magazines, they play games and all that. So it's a gold mine waiting to be discovered, and we stumble upon it to some degree.
No, that's impressive, and congratulations for what you achieve.
Thank
And
you.
I love as well the way you approach, first of all, storytelling and excellent design and art direction, but as well with all the areas of the Web3, which in the end of the day is already here. It's just in multiple ways. So one of the things I want to highlight is, so you touch a lot of brand tech, and it's a concept that not a lot of people speak. And like you said, everyone is a media, every brand is a media, but most of people are still not there. Actually, the data shows that, for instance, there's 50 million creatives worldwide, and around 5,000 agencies specialize in creative content, which is only 5,000. And if you look at all these thousands of agencies, they're more doing like kind of automated work in a lot of different ways. So let's touch a bit, how do you see brand tech? Because you are, of course, an expert on that. But this relationship with brand tech and, like what you said, the young generation, that right now everyone, there's around, the numbers tell there is around 3.4 or 4.5 people playing games, which is more than half of the world population. And in terms of the internet, we have 4.5 to 5 billion people in the internet. So the numbers are really quite massive. But ironic, like you said, you are in a niche that is no longer a niche. It's going to become mainstream. But of course, is the way you can work on this. So if you can talk about brand tech and this relationship with the immersive new technologies that are coming.
Well, so if you look at Web3, there are 7 layers in that ecosystem. So the base layer is actually your telecom operators, where they're building fiber optics and so on, right? So without bandwidth, Web3 wouldn't happen, because it consumes a lot of data, it consumes a lot of bandwidth. Then you have the second layer, which is now getting even more exciting, with Apple's announcement of the AR headset and so on, right? So you need a device to set as the interface between Web3 and the content. So that's already happening. And then if you move forward all the way up to, you know, the cryptocurrencies, the Ethereum of this, I mean, because you need the tokens to actually operate in the ecosystem and so on. All of these are being developed by hundreds and thousands of people with loads and loads of investments. So I think what's exciting is we're now getting to the outer layers of this ecosystem, where the rubber hits the road. This is where you need to create content. If you look at what people say about what exactly is Web3 or the Metaverse, it's as simple as a website that is 3-dimensional and immersive, right? And then it allows people to work, play, socialize, to do all the things they do in the real world now online. And they allow multiple parties to all congregate on this particular website together. And that's the exciting thing, right? I think one of the most interesting element of what we're trying to do at that level is, now you are beginning to be able to do metahumans that look super lifelike, or if you want game-like. You can make them talk and walk and all that. They can try out fashion items. You have obviously traditional games that is still extremely popular. Now you can beginning to start to look into shopping. Now you're beginning to get into socializing and so on and so forth. So I think as Web3 is now becoming more and more of a reality, the style, the creativity, the content, how you create the content will now be the next challenge, because the technology empowers creativity. And we're now at the point that technology is becoming more and more mature. And therefore, once you're more mature, then you can do, you can focus on the creativity. It's a little bit like the Impressionists. You know, the discovery of the oil paint that comes in the tube allows them to paint in the wide open, right? Because previously you can't do that. The oil would not dry fast enough for you to do that. But with the invention of these, I don't remember what's it called, but basically it's oil in a tube, oil paint in the tube, and they allow the Impressionists to go out and paint. And then the end result was they then look at the world so different. So you have Monet, you know, painting the water lilies, you have Van Gogh creating, because it's all brought along by technology in the art world. Then you go to silk screen, and that's what Andy Warhol created with his wonderful, you know, Mao and Marilyn Monroe paintings and so on. So I think the technology has always been a part of the creation. And when it's done really well, the technology is invisible to us. The end result is amazing creative work, or awesome creative work. And that's what I think we are fast approaching, that with technology maturing, we'll be able to actually focus not so much on the technology anymore. We'll be focusing on the creativity, on the humane side of Web3, and that is content and creative and storytelling. That is what we are hoping, or we want to be a part of that revolution. That's what we are excited about.
And definitely you guys are doing fantastic work. So let's talk about Monarch. So I'm a huge fan of Monarch, and this is one of the world's most advanced metahumans. So for people not listening, but please just search, and we're going to put some image, but please do more research. So Monarch is Hong Kong's first virtual influencer, and she's Euro-Asian descendant, but has wide appeal, and is really an artist, beautiful concept artist and metahuman. So tell us how you created, and as well as becoming right now an artist in major Sotheby's, Phillips Gallery, NFTs, exhibitions, working with global personalities and museums. So tell us about that and how you are pushing that forward, because as well is a luxury, well, it's a work of art herself. So and of course, if you see it, you might be confused with a real human, but that as well, that interactivity, there's the creativity part, there's the technology, there's relationships, and there's the creative part as a professional level, as a creative.
Thank you, Dinis. On behalf of Monarch, thank you for your compliments. I'm sure she'll be very happy to know that you're a fan. So thank you very much. So Monarch was created initially with the dissatisfaction that we have with working with KOLs or influencers in this part of the world, which is a big part of all social media marketing in Asia. And often when clients work with real KOLs, they run into a lot of problems, and you have scandals, and so therefore it carry a lot of risks. You have not a lot of integration with the brand itself. So it was originally in discussion with clients. We hear about all these concerns and complaints and all that. And when we sat down and say, you know, how do we, you know, figure out a way to solve this problem? And then over dinner, I had the chance to run into a couple of 3D artists from Hollywood about 2 years ago. And we were just talking about the movie Benjamin Button. Have you seen the movie where Brad Pitt grew young? You know, we all want that, don't we? But apparently that was the first time Metahuman was was created because all these different versions of Brad Pitt, they were metahumans. But back in those days, it cost a ton of money to create. So these are 3D models, and then they put breaking into the 3D model, so it talks and walks and so on. And as technology becomes more democratic, it becomes a possibility to create super high fidelity metahumans. So I was actually first attracted by the ability to create super high fidelity metahuman. However, as I dig into it, I realized as technology become readily available, our ability to create metahumans would apply to anybody who wants to create metahumans. So therefore, you gotta have to have something more than that. Then we started thinking about what should we do? And I realized the most important thing, it's actually the human in the metahuman. What I mean by the human of the metahuman is actually her personality, what she does. And if you want to engage, then you gotta have to figure out something that people will be interested in engaging, particularly what they can't do themselves in real life. So if you think about Fortnite, so obviously you can't, well, maybe some people do, unfortunately, but you can't go out and shoot a whole bunch of people on the streets, right? Because that's not legal, and you know, you die from it as well. So therefore, you engage yourself in the game. What's interesting was with Monarch or Mono C, we created her as a woman of many contradictions. I often call my wife a woman of many contradictions. It's a compliment, not a, I mean, she doesn't think so, but it truly is a compliment. So when we created Mono C, we were very conscious that she is a woman of many contradictions. And then we started thinking about what would be interesting for us to create. So the first project we created was the Phillips project, Drowning in Love. And what was interesting was there's a backstory to it, because as metahuman, as creations of AI, they have the ability to read all the articles in this world, look at every single painting that's ever been painted in this world, because they have unlimited capacity to absorb data. But what they don't have is the ability to feel what the data represents. And we felt, well, that is a contradiction. That fits her personality. So on the one hand, she's a metahuman with massive knowledge, but the one piece of knowledge that she craves for her life is the inability to understand why we laugh, why we smile, and why we get angry, and why we are amazed by the water lilies that don't look like the actual water lilies, right? And so the backstory was she'd been to the Museum of Modern Art. She'd been to, where was it that Monet painted? Auvergne or I can't remember exactly the place. Yeah. So she's been to these places. She couldn't figure out what exactly went on between, you know, the artist painting the water lilies and the actual water lilies. So she was trying to explore. So that was the reason why we created Drowning in Love. And she thought, wow, it must be love that whoever painted the water lilies, he must be in love with nature. And it's so stunning and so beautiful. That's how she created it. So that was the backstory. And then we were trying to figure out how best to do this. So the way we convinced Phillips to do it is that they allow us to access their global data as data comes in. So this is the first real-time generated data art, where when someone clicks on the site, it's collected as a data point. It's anonymous, but it's collected as a data point. If you ever look at a piece of work, it's a second data point. And then we write an algorithm, and then we power up all these flowers coming down, the way they bloom. It's all controlled by data. And it's actually controlled by people who look at who serve on the website. So actually, it wasn't our creation. We basically created a framework, but the actual art was created by the customer or the collectors who came onto the site, looked at a piece of work, and so on. So in a way, that was really fascinating for us, and that's how Monarch was created. It's a very long story. I apologize, but once I started talking about Monarch, I get very excited because she is an imagination in our head, and now she's a reality, and that in itself is a contradiction. So I think what's great about it is we found the tension between data and humanity, between art and science. And Monarch is trying to bring it together harmoniously through the lens of art. That's the backstory.
No, it's a wonderful story, and really, I really love. I come from a background of art as well, and what you guys achieve is amazing because it's technology, aesthetics, and as well there's a sense of unity between all the creation, and as well a sense of intimacy as well. There's a sense of personality as well. So it's a great achievement, and that itself can be taken to a lot of different levels because it's missing, I think, and especially right now. I know that we have limited time right now, but I really want to do a part 2. So as one last approach, so, as an agency, so you have to. This is a concept art project, but at the same time, it's becoming a business project as well. It's an IP on itself. And then you have, of course, brands that can interact with art. There's a lot of different things. So how do you see this case study? Because at the end of the day, this is an art, and you guys did an art in a lot of more meta art as well. But one of the things right now, especially, and we touched that before, is the challenge with Web3, especially AI, is there's a huge fear, a huge non-understanding. Because, of course, one thing is Web3, but AI is becoming much more dystopian. And you have here someone like Monarch that is a confluence of everything that means to be a human. So how do you see this, and how do you interact on the different layers that we have?
Well, I think the exciting thing for us with Monarch is our vision is that she will work with brands that fit her persona, so that we don't undermine the authenticity of her as an artist. So I get confused about whether she's a metahuman or a real human being, right? Because I'm confused because I treat her like a real human being. So if you're a real human being, there's an authentic part of you that you would only work in a certain way and not others. And while she is a creation of our imagination, but now that she is created, we consider her as very authentic. So there are certain things that she would do, certain things that she won't do, just like you and I. So we envision that she will be working with brands that share the same set of values that she has. And it's really well documented in our office about her personality, what she will do, what she won't do, and so on and so forth. Secondly, we think like any artist, it would be great to create some sort of brand collaborations, much like the way Kusama's doing some wonderful work with Louis Vuitton. We envision that at some point in time we'll do the same thing, because that actually, to some degree, democratizes the art and actually brings people into our franchise, into her franchise, much like if now that more and more people know Kusama, I would imagine they would be more attracted to the art that she has created. We have a similar track that we would like to have Monarch's creation be even more interesting. The latest piece of art that we do last year, one of the latest pieces of artwork that we did last year was to use coronavirus data to power up a piece of work. And it was interesting because, again, she's intrigued by the sad state of humanity for the last 3 years. And she then started looking into data country by country, week by week, day by day, month by month, about spread, vaccination, death, and recovery. And she want to document that 3-year period so that when the next time we humanity face pandemic, we'll approach it very differently, right? So she created this piece of art. And again, we were very interested in documenting, just like any artist, documenting, you know, what we see, what we feel, and this is her way of expressing her vision for the world. And eventually we will be doing, you know, brand work, brand collaboration work that would have a commercial value to it. Because at the end of the day, even though she's a metahuman, the people who manage Monarch or Mono C, they gotta eat. So we gotta have to generate some revenue to do that. And the way to do this is through her curiosity about humanity. And hopefully we will bring points of view to the commercial side of our business. So it's not just you give me $10, I'll do a post for you. It's gotta be authentic, but it's also gotta have a curiosity, an intriguing part of this story that we would like to impart about everything that she does, and that's our ambition.
Well, I love this, and I think it's a great, first of all, a great achievement what you guys did, but as well the possibilities are enormous, and it is a confluence of Web3, AI, avatars, metaverse, and as well new creative revenue streams for agencies and IP creators like yourselves. So I have much more questions, Aaron. I want to be respectful of your time, but I will really do a part 2. This will be the part 1. Probably part 2 will be more on Monarch, your work on AR, VR. But for now, I want to be respectful. I know that you have this time, so I want to create this respect for that. It's been an honor. There's a lot of questions, a lot of stuff. For people listening to us, we'll put all the links, because Aaron and Gusto Collective is doing amazing things, and just go to their website as well, but we'll promote that. And please, Monarch is even in some exhibitions worldwide, and much more will be possible. Thank you so much, Aaron. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Dinis. Thank you for having us on your show.
The honor is mine. Thank you.